Welcome back. After. As the taxi draws up outside Hugh's flat, Hannah gets her phone out to pay. To her dismay, the inky shadow inching across the screen has spread. It's now covering almost the whole screen, leaving only a small triangle at the top left. However, she holds it against the card reader, mentally crossing her fingers and signs with relief as it beeps obediently. "Good luck, Hen," the taxi driver says gently. "You need a lift anywhere? You can give me a call. Ken." He pushes a business card through the hole in the plexiglass screen, and Hannah takes it, trying to smile. Now that the adrenaline is wearing off, she feels almost unbearably shaky. Her hands are Her hands are trembling and cold. And didn't you be in too much of a hurry to get back at him? Leave him to stew in his own juices a wee while. Hannah nods. "Thank you," she says, and then she takes a deep breath and slides out the back seat. Standing in front of Hugh's intimidated brass bell plate, she reflects that she should have called ahead. If Hugh was out, she would be in a fix. But she glances at her phone and then realizes that is pointless and the clock is no longer visible. It must be before 9, though. It's not likely a single childless man like Hugh would be up and out so early on a Sunday. Saturdays, he sometimes does clinics, and she knows that. Hugh's wealthy clients don't expect to have to stick to weekdays for their appointments, but not Sundays. Sundays are his days off. She presses the brass button beside the engraved H. Bland and waits. After what feels like an agonizing long time, her feet getting slowly colder and more numb on the black and white tiles of the porch, the intercom crackles and Hugh's very English voice comes over the speaker. "Hello? Hugh?" Her teeth are chattering now. "It's me, Hannah. Can I come in?" "Hannah?" Hugh sounds astonished. "I mean, yes, of course, but what?" I'll tell you upstairs," Hannah says. She can hardly get the words out. Somehow the brief interlude of warmth in the taxi has only made the shock of the outside feel worse now that she is stuck here. A chill wind whips down the road, swirling dead leaves in the porch and making her shudder afresh. "Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, of course. I'll buzz you in. 5th floor, yes?" "I remember." "You do?" Hannah says. She has her arms wrapped around herself and teeth clenched to stop the chattering. There is a drawn-out buzz, and Hannah shoves the door with a force that sends it swinging inward to bang against the backstop and hurries into the hallway of Hugh's building. Inside, it's not exactly warm, but it's a hell of a lot warmer than the streets, and she presses the button for the tiny old apartment lift with its folding screen door and waits while it clanks down the stairwell. As it rises up to Hugh's flat, she has to fight the urge to sink to her knees, cradling her bump, howling with the awfulness of what has just happened, an awfulness she is only now beginning to comprehend. And Hugh tried to tell her. That's the worst of it. He tried to warn her what would happen if she kept pushing and digging and refusing to accept the version of events they had all learned to live with. He tried to tell her, and she ignored him. And now she is paying the price. When the lift stops with a clang at the 5th floor, Hugh is standing outside, wearing a paisley silk dressing gown and holding a cup of coffee. He isn't wearing his glasses, which gives his face an oddly unfinished, vulnerable look. But as Hannah pulls back the folding brass grill, his expression changes from one of puzzled welcome to kind of confused dismay. "What the, Hannah, old bean? What happened? Where are your shoes? And is that blood?" Hannah looks down. It's true. Her feet are bleeding and she hadn't even noticed. She has no idea whether she picked up a piece of glass or just stubbed her toe on the rough asphalt. But there are smears of red on the checkerboard tile floor of the lift. "Oh shit, Hugh, I'm sorry." She bends, trying to reach past her bump in the confined space, but Hugh is shaking his head. He takes her arm firmly, pulling her forcibly upright and propel her down the corridor toward the open door of his flat with a firm but kindly hand in between her shoulders. Absolutely not. You get yourself inside. I'll call housekeeping to deal with that. But your carpets. Hannah stops in the entrance to the flat. She had forgotten Hugh's carpet, a pristine cream expanse that runs the length of the enormous hallway and stairs. Hugh rolled his eyes as if to say, damn the carpets, but he pauses and opens a cupboard concealed behind panel, bringing out a pair of slippers. There you go. Put those on if it's only going to make you fret. Now, for God's sake, sit down before you fall. What on earth happened? It was Will, Hannah finds herself saying, but to her horror, the rest of the words won't come. Instead, there are tears crowding at the back of her throat, forcing their way up, prickling out through her eyes, and running down the sides of her nose. A great ugly sob comes out with no warning, and then another, and suddenly she is racked with them, huge, unmanageable, body-convulsing sobs that feel like they are going to tear her apart. Oh, Han, no, Hugh says uncomfortably, and then he holds out his arms awkwardly, and almost in spite of herself, Hannah stumbles into them. Hugh is not one of nature's huggers. He is too tall and bony to be comfortable, too physically ungainly. But he is good and kind, and he is Hugh. They stand locked together in Hugh's hallway. Hannah's bump intruded uncomfortably between them, and she bawls like a child into the embroidered silk lapel of Hugh's dressing gown. At last, her sobs subside into gasps, and then hiccups, and then finally just shuddering breaths, and she gets a hold of herself and pulls away. As she wipes her eyes and then her glasses, she realizes with a kind of shameful horror that she has slobbered all over what is probably a very expensive, dry clean only garment. I'm sorry, she says. Her voice is croaky. I didn't mean, oh God, your beautiful dressing gown. I'm so sorry, Hugh. She sniffs and gulps. Have you got a tissue? Here, Hugh says. She's not sure where it came from, but he's holding out a laundry linen square with HAB on one corner. Hannah looks at it doubtfully. Handkerchiefs in her house are made of paper. But at last she blows her nose, and then, unsure what to do with it, she can hardly hand it back to Hugh. She puts it in her pocket, intending to slip it into the laundry hamper when she goes to the bathroom. Better? Hugh says, and she nods. It's both true and untrue. She needed that cry badly, and she does feel better. It was cathartic in a way no talk could ever have been, but in another way, nothing is better. It's just as awful and fucked up and unfixable as it was when she walked through the door of Hugh's flat. Come into the living room, sit down, Hugh says, and then I'll make you a cup of tea, and you can tell me all about it. As if he don't know. I don't know if he know or not. Okay. Some half hour later, Hannah is sitting on Hugh's white velvet couch with her slippered feet tucked under her and a blanket around her legs, and Hugh has his head in his hands. So he admitted it? He asks now as if he can't believe it. He actually said he killed April? Not in so many words, Hannah says. The sentence feels unreal in her mouth. But I asked him, and he said, she stops, gulps, and forces herself on. He said, what do you think? And then he laughed. Oh my God, Hugh says wretchedly. He looked up at Hannah, his face utterly bleak. I almost wish I never told you about about the noises. Hannah shakes her head. Hugh, no, God, no, if it's true. But she stops at that. She can't bring herself to say it. Hugh, she asks instead, knowing she is clutching at straws. Hugh, was it definitely him? It couldn't have been a scout or a sound traveling through the walls or something? But Hugh shakes his head. He looks 10 years older, as if he is still coming to terms with what he set in motion. No, he whispers now. It was him. It was him, Hannah. I heard him through the wall speaking to someone. It was Will. Why he didn't say all of that when he first told her? He said he don't know, right? Hannah feels her last shred of hope snap. She feels as if she has been hanging on to a fraying rope for dear life, and the last fiber has just been severed. He was there. He was really there. And he has lied about it for more than 10 years, for the entirety of their relationship. Why didn't you say anything before? Exactly. She manages. Why didn't you tell anyone? She doesn't mean it to sound as accusing as it comes out, but Hugh only shakes his head wretchedly, as if accepting any blame she wants to throw at him. Because he was my friend, Hannah. He sounds broken. And because I didn't think it mattered. It was Neville. You saw him coming out of the staircase. We both did. There was no way anyone could have got up there between Neville leaving and us arriving. So did it really matter if Will arrived a few hours before he said he did? And besides, no one asked. They never asked. Did you hear your best friend coming home at the time that totally breaks his alibi? I would never have lied outright, Hannah. Never. But to go to the police with that, when we all thought Neville was guilty? He stops, takes off his glasses, covers his face. It must, Hannah reflects dazedly, be almost as much of a shock for him as it is for her. She had lost her husband. Hugh has lost his best friend. She feels the tears welling up again and grit her teeth. She can't keep bursting into sobs. She has to get a grip. They have to figure out what to do. He didn't try to stop you leaving? That's what I said, Hugh. Hugh asks. He did, Hannah says. She almost can't believe it herself. He ran after me, but he tripped over a table. I don't know what would have happened if he caught up with me. A picture comes to her. Will's lean, strong hands wrapped around April's throat. The image washes over her with a physical shock like ice water, making her cheeks flare and her breath quicken. She pushes the thought away. She can't think about that right now, about the reality of what this means. All she can do is put one foot in front of the other. Okay, Hugh says now. He stands and paces to the end of the living room, to the beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the street. He runs his hands through his hair. Okay, let's think. Let's think about what to do. Did Will know you were coming here? Hannah shakes her head. No. Why you want to know that? And what about your phone? Is there any way he could be tracking you? You should turn off your location service. I can't. Hannah digs in her pocket and draws out her cracked and broken phone. The screen is completely dark now, ink black and unreadable. I broke it this morning. It's completely dead, but I don't think it's a problem anyway. Will had no... She swallows, take a deep breath, tries again. He had no reason to... She stops again. It's extraordinary hard to say what she means. Her husband had no reason to spy on her until today. She cannot believe she... Whoa. Spy on her? Is that how they linking this together? She can't believe she and Hugh are having this conversation. All she wants is to hear Will's voice, hear his incredulous laugh as he says, "What? Are you crazy? Of course I didn't kill April." But instead, what she hears is that cold, brutal, "What do you think?" She puts her head in her hands. November was right. She can't handle this herself anymore. It has gone too far, become much too dangerous. Whatever the truth, she has to hand her fears over to the authorities. And although she thought of sharing her suspicions, make her feel sick. There's a kind of relief too in the idea of passing on this burden to someone else. For more than 10 years, she has been pushing away these doubts, pushing away the certainty that there was something wrong in what she saw that night. It's time to confess. I think I have to go to the police, she says. Can I use your phone, Hugh? Of course, Hugh say, though he looks as sick as she feels at the thought. Why? I'll speak to them too if you want. But look, if you phone them, they'll probably want you to come down to the station, make a statement. Do you want to get cleaned up first? You look absolutely all in. Hannah looks down at herself, at her crumpled sweats and her bloody feet in Hugh's borrowed slippers. She wants to phone the police, get this over with, but at the same time, she can see that Hugh is right. Once she has started the ball rolling, she can hardly say, I'll be down in a few hours once I've showered. Is he stalling? Okay, she says now. Good idea. Her stomach growls audibly, and she realizes suddenly that she is almost faint with hunger. Actually, before I do that, could I have some toast, Hugh? Hugh nods. Of course. Come through to the kitchen and I'll get you set up. He sounds like he's stalling. It's maybe a half an hour later that Hannah walks into Hugh's marble bathroom to see a steaming bubble bath awaiting her, already run. The sight makes her do a double take. She had been intending a quick shower and then straight down to speak to the police. It must be already getting on for 10 a.m., but it seems pointless to drain the water in an already run tub. Setting a cup of tea to the side, she strips off her sweatpants, t-shirt, and underwear, steps out of Hugh's borrowed slippers, and climbs gingerly into the warm water. It's unbelievably good. The foam is scented with some kind of spicy citrus smelling perfume. The bubbles are rich and foamy. Even the painful stinging of her feet can't take away from the fact that this is undeniably exactly what she needs. She closes her eyes and feels the tears she had been keeping at bay for the last hour prickle behind her lids. But she cannot. She can't give way to this. She has to be strong. She has to get to the police and say what she knows. For April and November, who deserve justice after all this time. And for Neville, Ryan, Emily, everyone who has lived with this pall of potential guilt hanging over them. She will be angry soon. She can feel it underneath, the searing white-hot rage that will envelope her when this is done. How could you? She wants to shake Will, spit at him, slap him around the face. Really? You do? And maybe that is what will save her from the despair. As she lies in the bath, she can picture it so clearly. Will, you better be careful what you wish for. Hugh might have called Will. He might be there waiting for you when you get out the tub. Will, coming back early from the weekend, climbing the wall behind clothes to avoid having to go around the long way through the main gate. And then, maybe pre-planned, maybe just on a whim, he didn't go back to his own room, but up to April's. Maybe it was open. She thinks she locked it on her way down to the bar, but a decade on, she can't be sure. Or maybe April was already back. Maybe she welcomed Will inside. See, I came back for you. You are more important to me than my mother. And then what? An argument? No, not an argument, or the boys below would have heard it. A hissed disagreement, maybe? Or perhaps if Will was already in the room before April came back from the bar, he saw nothing. Another pregnancy test? A note from Ryan? Perhaps he opened the door, smiling, pulled her in for a hug. Let me take off my makeup, she would have said. And so he let her wipe off the terracotta foundation. Perhaps it was then, as she bent over her dressing table, cotton wool in hand, that he came towards her, hands outstretched. And then there was a knock on the door. April would have known nothing, suspected nothing. She would have pecked Will on the cheek and then gone to answer it. From inside April's room, Will would have heard the conversation. Neville handing over the parcel, April trying to hurry him away, Neville footsteps as he retreated down the stairs, and then April coming back into her room, all smiles. Got rid of him? And Will would have walked towards her, arms outstretched, but instead of cradling her face in his hand, as he had done so often to Hannah, and her heart cracks a little further as she thinks of it, he would have slid his hands down her to her neck and squeezed. No, no, no. The revulsion is so strong that she has to sit up, holding onto the sides of the bath as the water sloshes back and forth. It doesn't make sense. Will is not that person. But then she thinks of all the articles she had read over the years, all of the "it wasn't the partner" pieces, all of the statistics about women killed by the person they're sleeping with. She thinks of Durant's hints about the domestic murder, all the whispers she ignored for more than a decade. I never liked the boyfriend. They said she was sleeping around. He was never even a suspect. She has always ignored them, always clung to what she knows to be true, that Will is not that person. But now, with the knowledge that he has spent their entire marriage lying to her about that night, she is not so sure. The sudden movement of sitting up has made her head swim. There are little flashes of light, like paparazzi bulbs, flickering at the edges of her vision. The flashes the midwife warned her about. Was the bath too hot? Or did he put something in the water? Don't faint, don't faint, don't faint. She is whispering the words out loud, and then the moment has passed and she is okay. Okay. Except she's not. Her legs are weak as jelly, and when she tries to stand, she's not sure if they will hold her. Did he put something in her tea? Fuck, don't do this. She wants to beg her body, not now, please, not now. She holds her bump, feeling the baby move, is reassuring however much her body is letting her down, is taking care of their child. Their child. The words stick to her heart because if this is true, this baby will no longer be born to a father and a mother. It will be the child of a murderer with a father in prison. The faintness comes again, and this time it's accompanied by a wash of nausea. She crouches, naked in the tub. Is it going to be okay? And then suddenly it's not. And she needs to get to the toilet right now. Trembling, she hauls herself out of the bath, wet and dripping, her legs shaking, and scrambles over the side, slipping on the wet towel to fall to her knees in front of the toilet, shivering with a mix of cold and shock. She heaves, but nothing comes up. For a few minutes, she kneels there, shaking and dripping foamy water onto the beautiful towels, and then slowly, very slowly, she gets up and gropes her way to the towel rail. She has to hold on to the sink as she does. She cannot slip and fall, not now. She is all this baby has. She wraps herself in a towel and then slides down to the floor, her back to the heated rail, her gaze unfixed in front of her, waiting for the shivering to subside. But it never does. Did Hugh put something in her drink? Or is there something in the bath? Whew. It's maybe an hour later that Hugh taps on the door. Hannah, are you okay? It's gone very quiet. She doesn't answer. Her teeth are chattering too much. Hannah, Hugh is starting to sound alarmed. Can you say something? He waits, then knocks again, and then says, Hannah, I'm coming in. Is that all right? She wants to speak. She wants to tell him she's okay, but it's not true. The door creaks slowly open, and Hugh's head comes cautiously through the gap. He is wearing his glasses now and has changed into a herringbone trousers with a sharp crease iron down the front. His expression changes as he sees her huddled against the towel rail, white and speechless and shivering. Jesus, Hannah, you're in shock. Let me help you up. She tries to stand, but her legs are weak as rubber, and Hugh has to help her, holding the towel around her to try to protect her nakedness, averting his eyes as it slips to expose her bump. I'm sorry, she keeps trying to say, and he keeps saying, don't worry, Han, I'm a doctor. He's a doctor. I forgot. I've seen this all before. It's okay. You're in delayed shock. It's completely natural. The news about Will, it would have shaken anyone up. Come through here. I'll get you something hot and sugary. Come on, you're okay, you're okay. Together they make their hobbling way down the corridor to Hugh's guest bedroom, and Hugh pulls back the cover and helps her slip underneath. Don't go to sleep, okay? Hugh says sternly. I'm coming back with something for the shock. The shivering is subsiding, and she is hugely, unbelievably tired, but she tries to obey, dragging her lids open. Hugh returns in a matter of moments with a hot water bottle and a cup of tea so sweet it makes her want to retch as she drinks it, but he forces her to have at least a few sips. Let me sleep, she begs at last. She can't think of the police, not now, not like this, while she's white and trembling. In an hour, maybe. Right now, she is suddenly crushingly exhausted, tired in a way she can't remember ever being before. Hugh looks at her for a long moment and then nods. All right, you look absolutely done in. I'm just going to take your blood pressure, okay? She nods and he leaves and then come back a few seconds later with an electric monitor. He sits there listening to the clicks and whirls as it takes a reading, then pulls off the cuff and pauses for a moment with his finger on her pulse counting. Is it okay? The words are hard to form. She's so unbelievably tired, Hugh nods. It's fine. You're fine, don't worry. Are you cold? She shakes her head. Her hands and feet still feel numb, but the trembling is subsiding, and she can feel the warmth from the hot water bottle seeping through her. Go to sleep, Hugh says gently. I'll wake you in a few hours, okay? Okay, she manages, and then she lets her eyes close and slip into a mercifully darkness. That's the end of that chapter. I already thought she shouldn't have gone to Hugh place because Hugh and Will are friends. And I think Hugh is holding something Will's secret, or Will, I I don't know. From her getting so sleepy so fast like that, it sounded like Hugh put something in her drink or the bubble bath, and then the question about her phone. And then I feel like he's stalling for time for her to call the police or go to the police. So, and then asking if Will knew that she was there. All of that is kind of fishy to me. What y'all think? I don't know. But we're going to find out in the next chapters, right? Bye for now.